Hello, welcome to another edition of the VOD Weekly News Recap. I am Glorious Haddijatou Njie. Good evening. Now let's look at the headline. The IEC chairman speaks on parliamentary elections readiness. Government agrees with Transport Union for fare increments. Gambia's High Court dismisses Momodu Sabali's case against IEC. CityLink Austin Banjul unveils €3.2 million project in Banjul. Guinea ex-Prime Minister Ibrahima Fofana, 3 ex-ministers detained for alleged embezzlement. Former President Comparo sentenced to life in Sankara's trial. Armed men kidnapped an 83-year-old American norm in Burkina Faso. Mali opens investigation into alleged massacre in village of Mora. ICC prosecutor wants to close the situation in Darfur. Ukraine braces for fresh Russian offenses in East. Oklahoma lawmakers passed near total ban on abortion. Sacramento shooting. 1 arrest aide after 6 shot dead. Those were the headlines. Now let's look at the news in details. The chairman of Gambia's Independent Electorate Commission (IEC), Haddijatou Njie, has commended the National Assembly candidates who are campaigning for votes ahead of the April 9th parliamentary election, and that the candidates have so far maintained a peaceful campaign throughout the country. According to Chairman Njie, the IEC concluded the training of all its polling staff, numbering about 6,000, and they are ready for deployment across the 155 polling stations in the Gambia, and that all electorate materials and equipment have also been fully deployed to all regions, he said. The IEC chairman, in a statement, reiterated the institution's commitment to ensure there is free and transparent election. I will assure Gambians, the electorate, political parties, candidates, and all our stakeholders that the Commission is fully committed to delivering to the Gambian people fair, free, and transparent elections come 9 April 2022. Mr. Njie further urged all the candidates and their supporters to maintain peace and stability throughout the electoral process, whilst encouraging the polling and counting agencies from each of the political parties and candidates to watch the whole process from start to finish. Government agrees with Transport Union for fare increment. Aissatou Sow reports.
The government of the Gambia, through the National Security Council and the executives, has approved the fuel increasement agreements and authorities with an immediate implementation without further delay with effect from Monday, 11 April 2022. This request was approved following negotiations by the government, the General Transport Union, and other stakeholders in relation to the petition by the GTU. The Ministry of Petroleum and Energy has also issued a statement on this note, further stating that they have looked into the monthly fuel price structure announcement for April 2022 and that the government of the Gambia has been monitoring international fuel price for the last few months. The minister's statement illustrated that the fuel price increasement adversely affect the global market, pushing the cost of fuel importation higher. The main factor is the war in Europe, following the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the response of sanctions against Russia, which is also a major oil supply and distribution hub. Aissatou Sow reporting for VOD.
Gambia's High Court has on Friday dismissed Momodu Sabali's case against the Independent Electoral Commission regarding its decision to reject the parliamentary nomination bid of UDP candidate Momodu Sabali, ruling that the case lacks merit. Mr. Sabali was seeking an order to set aside the decision of the Independent Electoral Commission, IEC, of disqualifying him from contesting in the April 9th National Assembly elections. The court dismissed the case on the grounds that the IEC's returning officer, Anthony Roberts, relied accurately on the provision of Section 91E of the Constitution in rejecting Sabali's nomination, Justice Francis said. According to Justice Francis, a commission of inquiry was instituted to investigate the financial dealing and other related matters of ex-President Yahya Jammeh and his close associates, and later came up with its findings and recommendations, which was submitted to the President and published in line with the required law with specific findings about Momodu Sabali. Sabali made cash withdrawal of over $1 million from the National Youth Development Fund, an international gateway account, and cash of the magnitude is an asset to the state, and such an act was detrimental to the state and it was a conduct prejudicial to the public interest, and there were findings made against Sabali by the Commission of Inquiry, which recommended for him to be banned from holding public office or becoming a director of any state-owned enterprise, and therefore the Commission acted within its power in rejecting Mr. Sabali's nomination, Justice Francis wrote in the judgment. Sabali is not qualified to contest for the National Assembly seat since he has been banned from public office for 10 years, Justice Francis declared. The mayor of Austin City in Belgium, Bartomeulen, his deputy Silke Berin, and delegation on Friday, 1st April, paid a courtesy call on the mayor of Banjul, Rohey Malik Lowe, at the BCC office in Banjul. Speaking during a press conference, Mayor Lowe thanked the European Union for its continuous support and contribution to the work of the council, adding that the EU project is making a difference in Banjul. The mayor of Banjul, Rohey Malik Lowe, stated that the project will be aimed at strengthening the relationship between the two cities of Banjul and Austin. Mayor Bartomeulen added that all the mayors in Europe are looking at this project and the future is more important, not the past. The city bond between Austin and Banjul is truly unique. It is a great honor to see here as the first mayor of Austin with my own eyes how big steps are being taken in terms of waste policy, city recycling, and digitalization. We want to continue to work together in the future, he said. Now let's look at the news across our borders. Guinea ex-Prime Minister Ibrahima Fofana, 3 ex-ministers detained for allegedly embezzlement. Salah Njie reports.
Ibrahima Kasore Fofana, Prime Minister of Guinea until the military coup of 2021, and 3 former ministers of deposed President Alpha Condé were charged on Wednesday with embezzlement of alleged public funds and jailed in Conakry, one of their lawyers told AFP. They have been charged with embezzlement of public funds and sent to prison, said Salifou Bouvergue, head of a group of lawyers. In addition to Mr. Fofana, the former officials arrested are former Defense Minister Mohamed Diani, Environment Minister Oyi Golvogo, and Hydrocarbon Minister Zakaria Coulibaly. We think they do not deserve to go to prison because, until proven otherwise, they are presumed innocent. We are dealing with an expeditious and punitive procedure, added Mr. Bouvergue. The 4 former officials were brought before the prosecutor's office of the Court of Repression of Economic and Financial Offences on Wednesday, newly created by the junta that overthrew President Condé on September 5th after more than 10 years in power. Ibrahima Fofana, head of the government from 2018 until September 2021 coup, has now been appointed on March 31st to head the former ruling under Mr. Condé until forthcoming Congress. Salah Njie reporting for VOD.
Burkina prosecutors sought a 30-year sentence for Comparo over Sankara's murder, but a Oigando court instead sentenced him to life in prison on Wednesday. Former President Blaise Compaoré was sentenced to life in prison over Sankara's murder on Wednesday. The verdict came 6 months after the trial of 14 accused, including Compaoré, in the assassination of Burkina Faso's reverend Pan-African leader stated. In addition to Compaoré, 2 were sentenced to life imprisonment. Hyacinth Kafado, suspected of having led the commando that murdered Thomas Sankara and was the commander of Compaoré's guard at the time of the events. General Gilbert was one of the army leaders in the 1987 putsch. Blaise Compaoré has been in exile in Ivory Coast since his fall, whereas Hyacinth Kafado's whereabouts are unknown since 2016. The 3 men were convicted of attack on state security. Blaise Compaoré and Gilbert were also found guilty of complicity in murder, and Hyacinth of murder. General Dinderi, the only one still in Burkina Faso, is already serving a 20 years prison sentence for his involvement in a 2015 coup attempt, and they now have 15 days to appeal this high sentence. Prosecutors had asked the military court to find Mr. Compaoré guilty in absentia of an attack on state security, concealment of the coups, and complicity in a murder, accusing him of being the main sponsor behind the killing of Sankara and 12 of his colleagues. 8 other defendants sentenced to between 3 and 20 years in prison, and 3 defendants were acquitted. The verdict was greeted by applause in the courtroom, and this historic trial opened in October 2021, 34 years after the death of Sankara, a Pan-African icon, assassinated in a coup that brought Blaise Compaoré to power. His lawyers had from the beginning denounced a political trial before a court of exception, considering that the procedure is worthless. Mr. Compaoré was suspected of being the mastermind of the assassination of his former comrade and friend, who came to power in a putsch in 1983, which he has also denied. Thomas Sankara, who came to power in a coup in 1983, was killed along with 12 of his companions by a commando during a meeting at the headquarters of the National Council of the Revolution, CNR, in Ouagadougou. He was 37 years old. The death of Thomas Sankara, who wanted to decolonize consciousness and disrupt the world order by standing up for the poor and oppressed, was a taboo subject during the 27-year rule of Mr. Compaoré, who was forced out after a population uprising in 2019. Unidentified armed men have kidnapped a 33-year-old religious sister who was serving as a missionary in the West African nation of Burkina Faso, the Bikaram Kaya Diocese, and the Archdiocese of New Orleans, said Tuesday. Bishop Theophile of the Kaya Diocese said Maria Nine's sister, Solen Tyson, was adopted late Monday or early Tuesday by men who also vandalized the convent in Yalgo. Tyson had been a missionary in Burkina Faso since 2014, the Archdiocese said in a news release. Officials did not know where she was taken. We are in touch with governmental leaders who are pleading to keep us informed as they learn more, leader Sister Anne Lockhart said. The one peaceful nation of Burkina Faso has seen a great deal of violence linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group over the past 6 years. Activist Dioda has documented more than 1,000 extrajudicial killings by security forces and jihadis over the period. Yalgo is in the north, near the province of Somme, where 2 attacks in November killed nearly 70 people, and not far from the nation of Mali, where Human Rights Watch said more than 100 civilians have been killed in recent months. Tyson worked in the New Orleans Archdiocese for many years, Archbishop Gregory M. Amon said. Mali said on Wednesday that military investigators had opened an investigation into events in the village of Mora, the site of an alleged massacre by local force and foreign fighters. Following the allegations and alleged abuse committed against civilians, investigations have been opened by the National Generate on the instruction of the Defense Ministry and veteran to carry out true investigations to shed light on these allegations, the military prosecutor said in the statement. Mali's army announced on April 1st that it had killed 203 militants in Morale in the central of the Sahel nation during the operations in March. However, the announcement followed widely shared social media report of the civil massacre in the area. Human Rights Watch said this week that Malian's forces and foreign fighters had killed 300 civilians in Morale in what is called the worst single atrocity reported in Mali's decade-long armed conflict. Malian forces were operating in tandem with white foreign soldiers according to HRW, who are believed to be Russians because witness accounts refers to them as non-French speaking. Russia has supplied what are officially described as military instructors to Mali. However, the United States, France, and others say the instructors are operatives from the Russian private sector firm Wagner. On Wednesday, independent UN human rights expert Leontine urged an independent and impartial investigation into the events. In a statement, he called on the Malian authorities to allow the UN peacekeeping missions in Mali, known as MINUSMA, to perform the investigations. The finding must be made public and the alleged perpetrators brought to justice, Tin added. Now let's look at the international news. ICC prosecutor wants to close the situation in Darfur. Njie reports.
ICC Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan says at a presser in The Hague that he wants to close the situation in Darfur when asked whether former South Sudan President Omar al-Bashir will likely be in court. A former Sudanese military chief oversaw murder, rape and torture across Darfur, the International Criminal Court had on Tuesday, as the first trial for war crimes in the region got underway. Al-Mohammed al-Rahman, an ally of deposed Sudan strongman Omar al-Bashir, faces 31 counts of war crimes and crimes against humanity for his role in the conflict almost 20 years ago. His trial is the first before the Hague-based ICC for crimes in Darfur in which 300,000 people were killed and 2.5 million fled their homes, according to UN figures. You will hear evidence that he, Ab-al-Rahman, and his forces rampage across different parts of Darfur, the ICC Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan told judges. Abdul Ar-Rahman, 72, a senior commander of the Janjaweed militia, a notorious armed group created by the Sudanese government, pleaded not guilty after the historic trial opened. I reject all these charges. I am innocent of all these charges, Abdul Ar-Rahman told judges at the ICC, a court set up in 2002 to try the world's worst crimes. Wearing a dark blue suit, light blue shirt, and fiddling with his maroon tie, Abdul Ar-Rahman sat motionless as the 31 counts of war crimes, crimes against humanity, allegedly committed in 2003 to 2004 were read. The long charge sheet describes the act of murder, rape, torture, and pillaging. Fighting broke out in Darfur when black African rebels complaining of systematic discriminations took up arms against Bashir's armed-dominated regime. Khartoum responded by unleashing the Janjaweed, a force drawn from among the region's nomadic tribes. Njie reporting for VOD.
Ukraine gathered its dead and collected evidence of Russian atrocities on the ruins outside of Kyiv, as the two sides geared up Wednesday for what could become a climatic battle by Moscow's force to seize the country's industrial east. President Zelensky said Moscow is now marshalling reinforcements and trying to push deep into the country's east, where the Kremlin has said its goal is to liberate the Donbas, Ukraine's mostly Russian-speaking industrial heartland. Ukrainian soldiers are being trained in the United States to operate the deadly Switchblade drones that Washington is supplying to Kyiv, a Pentagon official said on Wednesday. Defense Department spokesman John said it was a very small number of Ukrainian troops who were already present in the U.S. before Russia invaded their country. We took the opportunity having them still in the country to give them a couple of days worth of training on the Switchblade so they can go back to train others in the Ukraine military, according to Kabrin. He said the 10 drones, which are essentially remotely controlled flying bombs, which are crashed into targets where they explode, have been sent to Ukraine to bolster the military's fight against Russian troops. They arrived over there early this week, so they will be getting into Ukraine quickly if they are not already there, Kirby said, adding that the number of Ukraine trainees was less than a dozen. Russia is blocking humanitarian access to the besieged port city of Mariupol because it wants to hide evidence of thousands of people killed there, Ukraine President Zelensky said on Wednesday. However, he expressed confidence that Russia would not succeed in concealing all the evidence. President Zelensky said that Russia had already attempted to conceal evidence of crime in the town of Bucha outside the Kyiv and several nearby communities where Ukrainian officials have accused Moscow of carrying out widespread killing of civilians. Lawmakers in Oklahoma has passed a bill that would impose a near-total ban on abortion in the state. The bill would criminalize performance on abortion in almost all cases, except where it would save the life of the pregnant woman in the medical emergency. Medical professionals convicted under the law face fines of up to $100,000 and 10 years in prison. This comes as the U.S. Supreme Court weighs a case that could overturn abortion rights across the U.S. later this year. Oklahoma's House of Representatives, in which Republicans hold a supermajority, voted to send the bill to the governor's office by 70 votes to 14. The state's governor, Kelvin Steve, will be presented with the bill for his approval. The Republican has already committed to sign into law any legislation that restricts abortion rights. Republican Rep. Jim Owens, who authored the bill, said he was thrilled by its passage and said the legislation could see many lives of babies saved. But pro-choice groups said the bill is a devastating blow for women. Nothing it comes after the state became a major destination for women from neighboring Texas seeking abortions after the passage of extremely strictly laws in the past years. Nearly half of the patients Oklahoma provided are currently seen as medical refugees from Texas, a coalition of pro-choice groups said. Now Oklahomans could face a future where they would have no place left in their state to go to seek their basic health care. Tamia Cox, director of the American Civil Liberties Unity of Oklahoma, said in a statement that the bill serves as an alarming reminder that the days of access to safe, the legal abortion may be murdered, and we must continue to fight to guarantee all people have access to the essential health care they need, including abortion. Police have arrested one suspect in connection with a shooting in the center of Sacramento, California's capital, on Sunday that left 6 dead. Dear Martin, 26, has been charged with assault and illegal firearm possession, police said on Monday. Multiple people are believed to have opened fire in the busy downtown area close to the state capitol building. Officials have identified the 3 men and 3 women killed in this year's worst U.S. mass shooting so far. 3 of the victims were men: Haddijatou Harris, 38, Devesha Turner, 29, and Joshua Hoyolakisi, 32. 3 women were also shot dead: John Tyre Alexander, 21, Malinda Davis, 57, and Yermil Matizi, 21. Police said all 6 victims died at the scene when multi-shooters opened fire just after 2:09 GMT on Sunday near the junction of 10th and K Street. An additional 12 people were also wounded in the shooting and taken to local hospitals. The violence was unprecedented for the city, its police chief said. Police have executed several search warrants as of Monday, and at least 1 handgun now understood to be stolen was recovered. The family of Haddijatou Harris told local media the vigorous and friendly father has gone to a nightclub in London late on Saturday and never returned. Mr. Harris' wife, Letitia Fields, told the San Francisco Colony a stranger had told her on the phone that he had been shot. That's all we have for you today. Until we come your way again, I am Glorious Haddijatou Njie on the VOD Weekly News Recap. Have a good evening and thanks for watching.